What is the Rock-afire explosion? If you clicked on this video, you're probably asking this question. Whether or not you've noticed, you've most likely seen something the Rock-afire explosion related or just animatronic related in general. Whether in real life, on the internet, or just the Rock-afire explosion, you've most likely seen something related to animatronics or the Rock-afire explosion.
Before we get into this video, I just want to cite all the websites I used for information in this video, and the links will be in the description. First, let's talk about Aaron Fechter and his early creations. Aaron Fechter was born December 22nd, 1953. He graduated college from University of South Florida in 1973. Aaron Fechter founded Creative Engineering in 1975. The United States was in an energy crisis. He built a small car that was fuel efficient to fund this. He became a door-to-door salesman selling his smaller inventions like his leaf eater that sucked leaves from poles, but it was also a multi-use invention. He happened to knock on the door of a man who he landed a contract with to produce equipment for attractions for a shooting gallery. They later had a fallout. Creative Engineering wasn't being paid, so Creative Engineering refused to send any more equipment. Creative Engineering's earliest animatronic creations were the Scab and Willy Wabbit. Animatronics soon became the sole focus for Creative Engineering. One of Aaron Fechter's early animatronic creations was named Friendly Freddy. He was a bear who played the guitar and often talked about his physique. He was also Creative Engineering's first fully animated animatronic. Aaron Fechter's first full animatronic band was the Wolfpack 5, members being the Wolfman, Fats Gorilla, Beach Bear, Dingo Star, and Queenie, who was later turned into Mini Mozzarella. Most of these characters were parodies of real people, like Fats Domino, Wolfman Jack, Ringo Starr, and Beach Bear being based off of the Beach Boys. The Wolfpack 5 would mostly cover rock and roll songs from the 50s and 60s. Every animatronic in the Wolfpack 5 is a predecessor for somebody in the Rock-afire explosion, except for Billy Bob, Looney Bird, and Choo Choo. They debuted at the 1978 IAAPA convention in Atlanta, Georgia. They would be showcased again at this 1979 IAAPA convention in New Orleans, Louisiana. Also, in 1979, the Hard Luck Bears were created and showcased at IAAPA. The stage type was a 3-stage, which was common for Creative Engineering animatronic bands. The performers were Billy Wilbur, Billy Bill, Billy Boy, Billy Bob, not to be confused with Billy Bob Broccoli, Choo Choo, Pete and Repeat Thornsberry, Mama Grandbags, and Goonie Bird. The Hard Luck Bears were successful and were installed in multiple locations. Okay, we're gonna get back on the Rock-afire explosion later on, but for now we will begin to talk about Nolan Bushnell, then fade into Pizza Time Theater. Nolan Bushnell was born on February 5th, 1943. He graduated from University of Utah with an electrical engineering degree. After college, he moved from Utah to California, hoping to get hired at Disney, but Disney wasn't in the practice of hiring newly graduates. Nolan Bushnell was very inspired by Disney animatronics like the Enchanted Tiki Room. Instead of working for Disney, Nolan Bushnell got a job at Ampex. He began coming up with ideas of owning an establishment that had food and games. He worked on a game called Computer Wars, but it didn't do well, but also didn't do horrible. With the establishment in mind, he wanted to name this establishment Coyote Pizza. He would attend the 56th annual IAAPA convention, purchasing a Rick Rat walk-around. He believed it was a coyote. Later on, the walk-around would arrive at Atari. When he realized it was a rat, he came up with a different name and decided to name the character Rick Rat. So instead of Coyote Pizza, it would be named to Rick Rat's Pizza. But that obviously was not a good idea, because obviously rats are rodents. So it was going to be renamed to the Big Cheeses. But Marriott Hotel already had copyrights to the name, so it was renamed again to Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater. He decided on pizza since it was easy to make and hard to mess up. Later in 1977, Nolan Bushnell and Gene Landrum opened up Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater. The Pizza Time players were Chuck E. Cheese, Jasper T. Giles, Pasquale P. Pieplate, the Warblets, and Krusty the Cat, who was later replaced as Mr. Munch. I also haven't mentioned this yet, but in 1977, Nolan Bushnell actually approached Aaron Fechter at an IAAPA convention about making the animatronics for Pizza Time Theater. Aaron declined the offer with the fear of Atari figuring out the inner workings and him being out of a job. Nolan Bushnell wanted to open multiple locations across the U.S. with a franchisee, Robert Brock, but Robert Brock wasn't a fan of how the animatronics originally looked in portrait form. and apparently Nolan Bushnell had told him about creative engineering, but didn't make a super big deal out of it. Robert Brock got curious anyway and planned to visit to creative engineering in Florida. He was so impressed, he broke out of his contract with Nolan Bushnell and eventually began business with Aaron Fechter. The first ShowBiz pizza place opened on March 3rd, 1980 in Kansas City, Missouri. When it opened, it did not have the rockafire explosion. Instead, they had the Wolfpack 5 installed. During this time, Billy Bob was introduced, and no, not on the stage, but in a walk-around costume. Billy Bob was based off of a band member in the Hard Luck Bears. Later that same year, the second location opened on August 14th, 1980 in Jacksonville, Florida. They opened with the rockafire explosion, the band members being Billy Bob, Looney Bird, Mitzi Mozzarella, Beach Bear, Fats Geronimo, Duke LaRue, and Rolf and Earl. ShowBiz Pizza was similar to Pizza Time Theater. The main difference was the animatronics were way more advanced and the decor was different, and they just had different things. The Wolfpack 5 in the first location would shortly be replaced with the rockafire explosion. All future ShowBiz pizzas would have the rockafire explosion installed. Both ShowBiz Pizza and Pizza Time Theater would begin to grow. Pizza Time Theater would change from portrait bots across the stores to cyberamics, and would introduce more cabaret characters along with the rotating guest stars, such as Helen Henny, who was a lounge performer and would later become a permanent member of the band, Madame Oink, Harmony Howlett, Sally Sachet, Foxy Colleen, and the cabaret singers being Ardent Antlers, BB Bubbles, the Beagles, the King, the Beach Bowsers, and King Cat. ShowBiz Pizza would also have some changes such as cosmetic changes, merchandise would be produced, vinyl records, and by the beginning of 1982, Uncle Clunk would be introduced. Uncle Clunk would take the place of Rolf and Earl temporarily. He would be seen as a traveling comedy act, but he was pretty short-lived. By the end of 1982, Mitzi Mozzarella and Beach Bear would get new voices, and these voices would stay the same for years. In 1982, a lawsuit between Pizza Time Theater and ShowBiz Pizza Place would be settled, so that ShowBiz Pizza Place would agree to pay Pizza Time Theater a portion of their profits for the next 14 years. You may think that Pizza Time Theater was probably set for a while. No. In 1983, Pizza Time Theater filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So then it might seem like ShowBiz Pizza was doing pretty well for themselves then. No. They were facing a decrease in sales and they were no longer opening stores, and Uncle Clunk was a failure, unfortunately. Eventually, ShowBiz Pizza and Creative Engineering had a falling out, with their relationship beginning to sour. ShowBiz Pizza and Pizza Time Theater eventually merged. ShowBiz wanted the rights to the rockafire explosion, but allegedly did not offer a dime. So, of course, Creative Engineering declined, leading to the removal of the rockafire explosion across all ShowBiz Pizza places. Concept unification was the practice of replacing the rockafire explosion with a different animatronic band. There's a couple of different concepts, different sketches, but since they already merged with Pizza Time Theater, they already had an animatronic band they could use. So they started taking off the cosmetics of the rockafire and putting Munch's make-believe band cosmetics on, with Rolf turning into Chuck, Mitzi to Helen, Fats to Munch, Beach Bear to Jasper, Duke to Pasquale, Choo Choo to Munch Jr., and Looney Bird to Pizza Cam, discarding Billy Bob, Earl, and extra props. While they were in the process of concept unification, Rolf and Earl would be the last rockafire members removed, with them playing shows, but of course not being voiced by Aaron Fechter in their final moments. The concept unification process would last until 1992. Eventually, all former ShowBiz pizzas were under the Chuck E. Cheese name. With the merge, the company was named to ShowBiz Pizza Time, Inc. Later, in 1995, Chuck was changed from a rat to a mouse to seem more friendly. Things were added like kid check kiosks. I'm pretty sure the mascot costume was changed, and sky tubes would be added. The company name would be changed to Chuck E. Cheese Entertainment, Inc. In the early 2000s, the sales would increase and new locations would open constantly. Sky tubes in Toddler Town were being improved. Later, in the mid to late 2000s, the Studio C stage idea was introduced, being installed across some locations while still keeping the other stage types others. Eventually, Chuck E. Cheese started losing money, so they pulled out free options like Toddler Town Sky Tubes and replaced them with more games or other premium attractions that you have to pay for. Some store stages were even being neglected. Later on, the Rockstar rebrand would be announced. This is arguably the worst remodel in Chuck E. Cheese history, but the Rockstar remodel took place in 2012. It wasn't even too popular whenever they announced the rebrand. The sales were declining, which meant less money being made, so in 2017, Chuck E. Cheese announced the removal of the animatronics. It's safe to say people were not happy. They would eventually somewhat end in 2025 with around 6 legacy locations. They also recently opened up a Chuck E. Cheese Adventure World and a Chuck's Arcade, but Chuck's Arcade was awful. The Chuck E. Cheese Adventure World just had a bunch of AI garbage. This would be the most recent major remodel. After ShowBiz Pizza, the rockafire explosion wasn't doing that bad, but they all weren't exactly doing as great as they were. They were installed in different places such as Circus Pizza, Scandia Golfs and Games, Billy Bob's Wonderland, etc. Other than places like that, which a lot of them later closed, they weren't super out there. Creative Engineering retrofitted the rockafire explosion to the Moonrockers in hopes of more sales, but since they were from a failed pizza chain, people weren't really wanting to buy them. To my knowledge, there wasn't much sales on the Moonrockers. Creative Engineering also started to work on the new rockafire explosion, which was in the 90s, which were installed in a few places. But to my knowledge, I don't know what places they were. The new rockafire explosion was a smaller, but I'm pretty sure more advanced version of the vintage rockafire explosion. People began to grow private collections, and most of the rockafire explosion in public places were taken out, and it was kind of left at that. They weren't doing bad. They were still displayed publicly and privately. Aaron Fechter did tours at the Creative Engineering Warehouse in Orlando. There's private collections that you can see, like Smitty's Super Service Station and Jack Turner's. That's kind of all the information I know around this time, though. Like I just said, fortunately, there are still places you can see this beautiful animatronic band perform, like in private collections or publicly, such as Billy Bob's Wonderland in West Virginia and the Volo Alden Museum in Illinois in America. But there are a few other locations worldwide. I believe that the rockafire explosion still has potential. Many people love the rockafire explosion, older and newer generations. I really hope to see them evolve more as the years go on and be used to their full potential.
This is the end of the video, and I just want to apologize if all of it wasn't completely accurate. And this was a shorter video. I might do a longer deep dive, I guess, on the history of ShowBiz Pizza and Chuck E. Cheese, but I kind of wanted to summarize it in a shorter span, I guess. I couldn't find as much information on certain things, but thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.